Okay, and we are live. So, uh, good good evening. It's been a whole week. It's been a whole week, and
My gosh.
I've been so excited to talk about this because um I don't know. I always love campfire ghost stories.
Mm,
Um, and the reason I like them is because like the real experiences have a tendency to um I don't know, the real experiences to me are not scary. They're like
yeah.
really interesting to me. I'm doing the jazz
Mhm.
hands again. Sorry. So for anybody who's new, who's coming into us, this is Lori, my lovely
Hi.
partner in crime.
Hmm.
And Lori's a psychic medium, Mi'kmaq, and you do all sorts of things. And again, I can't list everything.
Perfect.
I'm gonna put your I'm so t I am awful for listing things
That's okay.
because I just want to get to the topic, right? Anyway,
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
I'll
We're
put
just
your
really
I'll put
excited.
your I'll put your website in the description below. So if anybody wants to know all the fun stuff that Lori does, please have a look at the website. If you are interested, you know what, subscribe to the website. You know, that way we can send you out some information on if you're having an event or anything like that, sales. Sometimes you have a good deal. If there's a storm coming
Sometimes.
up, if everybody's
Hmm.
going to be snowed in, you like to give people a
Hmm.
little bit of a discount because
Yeah.
traveling.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
yeah.
and
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 sometimes
so
I just, yeah, I just
yeah,
like
just
to sometimes just have it because it's a March or because it's an April.
yeah. So
And
subscribe and you'll get your get your well, I've been doing the newsletter. I've done two so far.
hmm.
Building on that. Anyway, so if you're new, welcome to the channel. And so here we go. We are going to do, oh, sorry, I'm Linda. My big claim to fame is I do Akashic Journeys, and I don't just read your Akashic records, I take you with me, or I should say, I go with you. And I make sure that you're guided and well protected, and you get the answers that you need.
Hmm.
Anyway, yes, so it's a fun journey, and I'll put my website in the description below as well. Um, okay, so Campfire Ghost Stories. Here's
Yeah.
what I love
So,
about them. What I love
yep.
about them is we know they're not true. For the
Hmm.
most part, they're not true.
Sometimes it depends on if it's
They're
a legend or not.
Yes, legend. So, and a lot of times they're completely embellished, but they scare the ever-loving bejesus out of us. And it works. Um, Campfire ghost stories. There's always a
Oh.
forest. There's always a dead girl. There's always a misty forest or a dead cat, or an owl or a Sasquatch. There's always those things that or footsteps. Things like that.
Hmm.
And quite often at the very end you get the jump scare because you have somebody who is up to shenanigans who likes to, just when you get to the precipice of the story, then somebody jumps out and scares you, and then, and then we break out the s'mores and finish out the night. Anyway, so I'm gonna start with this tiny little story. This
Actually, before we do that,
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to do the introduction because I was going to tell an old Mi'kmaq legend about a whistling man. And if there's anybody out there who's Anishinaabe or Mi'kmaq, yeah, you and grew up, you probably heard about this legend. And I am not going to be telling the legend, only because of the experience I had literally 3 minutes before we came on. Before I do anything, I want to make sure I'm very, very respectful. I respect my culture, respect things. Before I even come on to the air, I always smudge. And I use my sage or I use my four sacred medicines. This is a big bowl because I need lots of sage. So, anyway, my experience was I was speaking to an elder earlier this week, and then I'm like, wow, like I really wanted to tell this legend, but it's a legend, but I want the story behind the legend because I'm not one for legends. I always hear legends about things, and we all hear them, urban legends. But is there truth behind them? Or are they just wives' tales, right? So I wanted to get that. And so today I was asking another friend of mine, and I was like, do you know the story behind that? And she was literally getting in her chat box, chatting with me, and the voices kept telling me, you need to smudge. What I did was I get this feeling that it's not a good time to tell this legend. The elder told me, let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about it because it's something that we will. I don't want you guys whistling at night. Not in the dark. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you that one. So I went to light my smudge, and I have a shell, and my son was playing with the sage beforehand, half an hour or so, because he loves the smell of it. And so I was going to light it for him, just do our smudge before, make sure that all the negative is gone. And my sage was gone. So I asked him, you know where the sage is? He's like, no, I put it back here. And he came right out and he showed me exactly where it was supposed to be. And it wasn't there. So I could keep hearing the shuffling. I could hear this shuffling in the background. And I'm like, okay, where is it? So I started asking ancestors, where is this? Where is this? So I go out and I give some tobacco, and I lay the tobacco in my deck. And I'm just like, please keep me safe. Please keep anybody that's telling a story tonight safe. Anybody, all of them, whatever. If there's any attachment to a real spirit, please keep them away from us. So anyway, went to find my backup sage. No backup sage. There's sweetgrass, there's cedar, and there's tobacco. So this bowl was in my car. So I ran up to my car to grab the sage to light it. Tried to light the sage when I came back in with my wooden matches, and wouldn't light. So we're lighting it now, and it's damn well going to light.
Mm-hmm.
I did a quick smudge, see? And I'm just going to light one little piece. And I'm just going to do like I do always before I come on, I do my smudges. Usually I don't let people see me do it just because, freaks people out sometimes or whatever. I don't know. But this is what I do. And I don't blow my smudge. I don't have the abilities to blow smudge. So I kind of wipe it, and then you can see that how it's still burning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
got a lot of, yeah. Be nice if I was able to be given the honor as to doing that. And I'm just going to add some more sage, and I'm going to let that burn in the background as we're telling our stories, because it's important for me to cleanse before we go. So I guess that's what I really want people to know. It's important to make sure that you cleanse as we're like, if we're telling a story or we're telling something about somebody who's already passed, story, anything like that. Now we're not burnt. So my smoke alarm is going to go off in a second, by the way. So at that point in time, I'll have to turn the radio off or turn the thing off, because I can tell you now there's a lot of smoke. Usually when there's that much smoke, it means that there's some kind of negativity lingering around. We're going to get rid of it. Just beforehand, as well, when I was lighting the smudge, I heard a cat bell, and I was like, oh, it's just my cat. And I literally could hear the cat running down the hallway, and I look over, my cat's sitting beside me. No joke.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so we're ready for tonight. I was
We're
quite
ready.
excited. I'm still
Mm-hmm.
really excited. Will not be
Okay. Well,
telling that legend at
good.
all, because I'm going to respect the ancestors with this one. Just going to
Yes.
respect them, and make sure that I ain't getting in trouble with the ancestors. They help me out
No.
so much. I'm an ancestor talker.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So I'm going to put
Okay.
this down here, and then I'll come back in a minute.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. You know what I use, and I know not to blow on the smoke because our
Yeah.
breath is not clean. And so
Mm-mm.
I used to use my hand, but I was gifted a crow feather, so that's what I use
Yeah.
now.
I can't find my feather. That's the most
Oh
absolutely
no.
hilarious part, is that I can't find anything. I have
I mean, you
my
should
shoes. Eagle
So,
feathers. I also have an osprey feather. I have a something that was gifted to me with a nice big
hmm,
stone in it. Can't find none of it. So
hmm.
that is
Yeah,
definitely a hint for me.
I have a crow feather and a woodpecker
Oh,
feather, which
I have a blue
and
jay.
I had, let me see, I saw a giant
And a
woodpecker today.
turkey. Did
So it
you?
must be
I have a
spring. Must
turkey
be.
feather that I use sometime and an osprey feather. I'm putting
Oh,
this right by
okay.
the door, actually. It's
So
still,
what
my
do I,
house is smoky.
oh, is it
Yeah,
smoky? I won't,
yeah.
yeah, I'll tell you after we're done what happened here. So as far as smoke goes. So what I wanted to illustrate really is how people can get so terrified over something that is nothing. And then all of a sudden you get all these visuals popping up. And then
Mhm.
I know it's true. It happened to a friend of mine, you know. Remember
Right.
Goosebumps, the books?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It happened to a friend of mine, so it's gotta be true. Well, nowadays it happened on the internet, so I know it's true. So
Mm.
I was talking with one of my coworkers last night. Anna, if you're listening, hi. Thank you for popping in. Here's your story, and I'm just going to try and interpret your experience, and kind of see what you, Lori, what you think of this.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't want to diminish it in any way. It is a very short story,
Mhm.
but what I'm finding is everybody that I was asking, they tell the story like this, when really the story is like this. It's huge, but they don't
Mhm.
want to tell the whole thing because to them,
Mhm.
it's absolutely terrifying.
Terrifying.
And trauma, a trauma happened to them after that
Mm.
experience, or because of that experience. When quite often it could be explained away to the tangible world, not the spirit world
Mhm.
or ghosts or goblins and things like that.
Mhm.
So here's I do have my glasses on. Look at that.
What
Oh wow, I can see.
I love this. I love that we're telling them, and I just want the audience to know that some things might be a trigger warning. We don't know. So, just sit back, relax. If it becomes a little too much, just fast forward through the video or what
Hmm.
have you. Also, some of the stories that we're going to be sharing tonight are a little bit. I also had a Filipino legend I was going to share, but I think we might save that for a different day. We might do one on just legends,
We can do just legends. Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. I love that
Because
idea.
yeah,
Anyway,
and
so she wrote
I've
it.
had some.
This,
Yeah.
see, it's
Oh
on
my gosh.
cash register tape. It's
Well, I had a ghost. I have a ghost story that when you come to see me in person, when I do an event, this is one of the ghost stories that I usually tell because this is an actual experience. So when I was trying to go through to get ghost stories, I actually was getting true experience stories.
mm,
And especially as my years as a paranormal person, like in a paranormal group. I got some doozies for you. And then just in
hmm.
my world in general as a medium and, taking people on adventures or taking people to, on their soul retrievals and their past lives. Past life have some really creepy stories, but some of them are true.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm a believer in experiences. So
Mm-hmm.
if we're hearing this story, it's either a legend or it's a story. Like I'm a huge storyteller. And as I was saying before,
Yes.
I was just told, you're the storyteller and da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
But storytelling, stories, can't wait. Anyway, let me just,
Oh,
and maybe we'll do
okay.
another one just on legends and experiences. But most of them, some of them are really truly happen. And what we need to keep in mind is with an open mind that
Mm-hmm.
this is actually an experience that happened to somebody, or maybe it didn't, and it's a figment of their imagination, but it is
Mm-hmm.
still something. Our imagination is so
It
vivid
is,
and so wonderful and so great, and it just takes us
yeah.
on journeys, right?
And
So,
that's why I don't want to diminish the person, the
mm,
experiencer, because it actually happened to them. Whether
yep.
there was something in the woods, maybe, maybe not. It
Mm-mm.
could have been atmospheric where, or a dead branch, all of a sudden that dead branch, it's time for that branch to fall. And then,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it was a ghost. Well, it
Yeah.
actually happened to that experiencer and never ever
Mm.
diminish that because it is traumatic.
Right. And I've never I've had experiences myself where you have to second guess yourself.
Hmm.
And you go, oh my gosh, was that real? That happens to me every day. Happened to me on the way
Hmm.
home today. Was that a real person crossing the street in the middle of traffic? Or was that not a real person? Like those kind of
Yeah.
things, I gotta
It's,
really get in touch with reality. But that tree branch that moves, is it a squirrel on that tree?
it's a
But
squirrel.
my I come from a different lens on that one, that it is real because every story or every
Hmm.
experience is real.
Hmm.
And every time, like if we hear that branch and it's really creepy and it's like, that's a sign
Scratching
for
the
us.
window.
Yeah, like that's a sign. What is that telling us? Is that like
Yes.
it's creeping us out? Fear is huge and it's a big thing. And it's sometimes it's really good to have some fear because it knocks something into us. If we have a go, I'll let you do that one because I'll be able to comment on that later. But I haven't heard any of these. So any ones
Okay.
that share tonight, I haven't heard any.
Yeah. So I only have one that's written down, it's written on cash register tape, so it's really not that long.
That's
And
okay.
other people have told me, but again, they're really filtering down because once you get out of the brackets of the actual story and explaining and possibly
Mm,
this, then automatically that fear turns into um, they think I'm crazy. They
you
think I'm nuts.
disbelief.
So
Mhm.
I'm just gonna stop here because they're
Right.
gonna think I'm crazy. But never,
Hmm.
and again, that's my advice to everybody. Don't diminish
Don't
somebody else's
stop.
experience.
Right. Don't stop. Find your
Don't stop.
tribe. Find your
Yep.
tribe that loves these kind of stories and will listen
Yes.
and be captivated. Like right now, before I came here, I was like, became on, I was getting ready to pop the popcorn and get rolled up in a little blanket and dim
Yes.
the lights. But
Yep.
Creator had a different plan for me.
Yes. Yeah. I know,
So,
all I had was a bag of chips. I should have had my those chocolate wagon wheels. I like to
mm,
freeze them and then put them in the microwave for like
it sounds so
three
good.
seconds. And what happens is they turn into s'mores, and that it's just the easiest way to make a s'more.
That is amazing. I never heard of that before.
I, I, yes, I came up with that a long time ago when every time my parents would go out, like I'm doing that. Anyway, so
I I would
here's
roast a marshmallow and I put it in between the celebration cookies because you got your
oh,
cookie and the chocolate in it and then the
yes,
roasted marshmallow. But I love my
yes.
marshmallows burnt and on fire.
Oh
So good.
gosh, yes, yes. So this is Anna's
Okay.
story.
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay. Now, and she's self-proclaimed messy writer, so it's gonna, I might struggle on a few words here. As I was sitting at my parents' campfire, my parents got up to go inside. So she's sitting by herself with her
Mhm.
parents, I guess in the backyard, and her parents went inside for whatever reason. That left me alone in the dark in the woods. Uh, oh gosh, in the woods. Beside me, I started hearing loud footsteps beside me and behind me. So she's got footsteps all around her now. I turned around quick as I could to see a large dark shadow. And so this large dark shadow in the woods and more weird noises. Um, I instantly came inside as fast as I could when when my parents came back outside, we could find they found some footprints in the dirt around where she was sitting. So, yeah, footprints leading, yeah. So they found footprints leading into the woods. Now, did they stick around and search what and I said, "Well, what do you think the footprints were?" She said, "Well, one person said it was a bear." And I said, "Well, a bear footprint is
Mhm.
like this. A human, like a
Right.
person, is a little bit, it's a different shape." So she's like,
Mhm.
I don't know. And then I don't know if she got scared when she was telling me the story. or explaining a little bit more, but
Hmm.
that's all she could tell me was, I don't know, I don't
Wow.
want to, so I didn't push it.
That
So,
that's amazing because
so
that if you can't tell what that's crazy. I love that.
yeah,
She probably stopped because she wasn't very comfortable telling that
yes,
story.
yes, and
You
that's
know.
that's what I mean is these campfire stories. Sometimes they get so fearful that
Hmm.
it's you're reliving that trauma. Now,
Hmm.
why on earth would there be footprints around her? Could it
Sorry,
be her
my
parents'
face is like close.
footprints? Could it be her
What?
parents' footprints?
It very well could
That
have been her parents' footprints. It very well
and
could have been
and who was the
any
shadow?
kids.
And who was that
Hmm.
shadow that she saw? It
I'll
wasn't
tell
a
you,
deer.
new, new. If I'll tell you right now, if there was a shadow behind me, I ain't sticking around.
I ain't sticking around.
Actually, I probably would stick around because that's what I am. So I'm saying I'm scared to death. I'm not running.
Yeah.
I'm a big fraidy cat. And then when it comes down to it, because I've had experiences like this, I'm not a fraidy cat at all. I get on my
Hmm.
armor and I'm like, I'm putting my armor on. And then I just become a scaredy human.
I know. I'll tell you, the only place I will not go, if somebody says, "Hey, go check out the basement." Oh, hell no. I am not checking out your
I
basement.
I
No.
have a basement, and my basement is absolutely beautiful. So it's the washer and dryers down there. But my son always leaves the lights on in the basement when he comes upstairs. And I swear to God, every night before I go to bed, I turn those basement lights off. And I think all the time, so I wonder if there's somebody living in my basement. Even though I've been in my basement time and time and time again,
Hmm.
smudged it, cleansed it, did everything. But that thought
Hmm.
goes, I wonder if there's somebody living in my basement. But
Maybe. You just never
maybe
know.
we're
So
not
that
going to
was
say, well, we
Anna's.
we smudge, so we're good.
Yeah. So that's Anna's story. I don't know how old she was when that happened, but
Mm.
you can tell just by the way she was a little bit shy, telling it out
Mhm.
loud, that, she's reliving that experience all over again. And I hope I hope she didn't go to sleep last night thinking about it. A lot of
Oh,
times they get so embellished that it's just all fun and
yeah.
fun stories like ooh, and the shadow turned into a Sasquatch, and then somebody jumps out of the woods, and the big jump scare, and then it's all fun. You get your heart pounding and whatever. Okay, so I
I have
have a
a really fun one that I have
yes.
really quick, but this isn't
Hmm.
my actual one. And it just literally came to mind. So when I was about 12 years old, I actually maybe even 13 years old, my stepdad's family owns an island called Five Island. So it was gifted to their whole family. However, one of the brothers actually owns it and operates it. And so and there's a cabin on this, and there's a cabin in the middle of water, no way to get there unless you're on a boat. I think that's a
That's what
perfect
movies are
ghost
made of.
story.
That's what
So
movies are made
around
of.
that year, I don't know what year it was, can't remember, but there was the movie The Fly had just came out. And on the
Uh-huh.
radio, because there was a radio hooked up to a generator, they kept playing the advertisement. I wish I would swallow a fly. I
Oh
hope you'll
gosh.
die. Like that was the creepiest thing. And everybody was asleep. There was rooms, two rooms upstairs, rooms downstairs. So anyway, my mom was there and my aunt was there and all the kids, and there was about five of us, five or six of us. There was little kids and me and my sister. My sister was, I think, 10, and my cousin was 12. So we were all around the same age. And we were laying in bed one night and we were just talking about ghost stories. And we're like, wouldn't this be a really great place to have ghosts? Right? I bet you there's ghosts here. Because it had been in their family for like years.
Hmm.
So we're like sitting there and it's pouring rain by this time. And my mom says, I really need to go to the bathroom. And it was only an outhouse. So my mom and my aunt, so mind you, the two most responsible adults
Hmm.
had said, we're going to the bathroom. So they go to the bathroom, the outhouse, with the only light that we had. Why would
Hmm.
they do that? So they
Shame on
decide
you,
to go.
adults.
Right. I'm gonna tell my mom about that because it's still traumatizing for me. So, backstory a little bit is that the my uncle my uncle my his wife went to get some food, which is 20 minutes away by boat.
Hmm.
So they hadn't come back yet, and we did not know where they were. And they sometimes had stayed over. So we were like, okay, so they're staying over in Halifax for the night, right? Like that'll be fine. And they'll just come over in the morning. Because, you hear the boat and you think, holy crap, right? So it's pouring rain. And so we're like already creeped right out. And we have our two responsible adults that went to the bathroom in an outhouse. And we could hear creepity, 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 creepity. And my mom is like, I can hear my mom because my mom is quite loud. She can't have a small voice. She has to have a loud voice. So we could still hear her outside. And then my mom and my aunt say, what's that? Oh my God, what's that? And we're like, oh, frig. Oh my God. And I think this is when I first started swearing. So it's her fault. Um, and I was like, oh my God, what's that? So my cousins and I were just like, oh my God, like what the hell is going on? And we could hear somebody walking up the front door. Like, so we're on an island. There's two adults gone to the bathroom in behind wherever the hell this was. And there's like four girls sitting there going, oh my God, it's pouring rain. The lightning is happening. And we're like, we're going to die. We're literally going to die because we could hear a mass murderer walking up the stairs. Like we really could. So we could hear this, and literally it's like one creepy step, one creepy step. And I can hear my mom outside. So my mother, in all of her infinite wisdom, God love you, mom. My mom is actually next door at my sister's. God love her, 77 years old. She walks in through to the back door and she's like, okay, girls, crawl up in the corner. It's going to be okay. Well, my aunt decided to stay outside in the pouring rain because she wanted nothing to do with what was going to happen. And my
Hmm.
mom was like, I'm going to protect you. So we were like, you can hear too? So all of a sudden, the door flies open and there stands this man with a
Oh,
hockey mask
oh
and a
my God.
baseball bat. Now, how long do you think it took us to scream? So my mother, in her infinite wisdom, goes over to this man that's going to kill us and grabs the baseball bat from him and hits him with it. And she didn't have any strength, so it didn't do much. And then
Yes.
he keels over and he starts talking and he's like laughing and talking and farting all at the same time. I had to put the fart in there. And it's my uncle. And he thought it would
Uh-huh.
be really funny to play this trick on us
Of
where he
course.
could come over and he lifts off the mask and it's my uncle. And I'm like, are you? And we
Hmm.
just started being so mad. We started like, carrying on with him and beating on him and stuff, like, punching on him and like girls do
Hmm.
and stuff. And my mom was like, you had me so scared. And he was like, I thought you were going to kill me with that baseball.
Oh God. What
So
if,
that was
what if
my
she
two.
wasn't? Oh, can
She
you?
was
I can't
protecting her
even.
littles. She was protecting the littles, let me tell you. And she
Hmm.
was doing it. She grabbed the bat from. I've never seen my mother have that much strength in all of her life. She grabbed it and she just like hit him with it. She didn't like knock him out, but it keeled him over. And my uncle,
Yes.
who has always been a jokester, like he's a jokester, a prankster. He used to say, this cute little, God rest his soul, he passed away, but he used to say to me, Lori, come here. Lori, come here. Come here. Do you want to come? I got a quarter for you. And so I'd come running because I like my money. I come running and I
Hmm.
go over there and he
Hmm.
goes, hey, if you come this far for free, how far would you come for a quarter?
Of course. Yes.
And
Yes.
all the time, right? I
Always,
thought I was
always.
getting a quarter. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, that was my uncle. So yeah, that was my little story that I wanted to share with you. And it's so
Yes.
absolutely hilarious. He thought it was so funny. He thought it was like Jason Voorhees or something, but the plain mask,
Yes.
baseball bat, he
Well,
had his plaid on. It was like, and then my
hmm.
aunt, his wife, was behind us, and she was like
Yes.
busting a gut laughing. And the only thing he kept saying was, "You made me fart." It was
Oh
so
my,
funny. My mom
oh
goes,
my
"I'm glad
God.
I already went to the bathroom."
Oh God.
So anyway, there you go.
Yes.
That was
So
one of them.
here's so I do have another story.
Okay.
But I'm gonna tell you this. And this is something that
Sure. Mhm.
I know. It was kind of one of those downloads that I got.
Mhm.
Um, you know how
Sorry, I'm just thinking
your
something.
body is full of energy, and then
Mhm.
okay, let me sorry, I'm gonna back up a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not going to compare us to dogs, but I'm going to compare us to dogs. Anyway,
Okay.
you know, a dog goes into the water, right? Gets
Mhm. Mhm.
saturated and
Mhm.
comes out and shakes off. And you see all these little droplets of water just going everywhere. And then all of a sudden the dog is clean and refreshed, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So and I'm getting goosebumps now just going. So when
Mhm.
we get so bogged down with negative energy and, just like,
Mhm.
you know, dragging our feet, I'm not saying like evil, just,
No,
just,
negative.
I'm so tired and yeah,
Mm.
I just want to sleep all day and I'm just dragging my feet
Yep.
and my job is
Get
boring or
that. I
school is
get that.
boring or I hate my parents. They have so many rules and, I can't stand my siblings, just life kind of is
Mm.
boring right now.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Mhm.
when you go into a situation like that, and then
Mhm.
you've got a whole bunch of other people coming in, and you tell a story, you tell something, and then there's that instant fear, and
That you're
everybody
good,
screams, and everybody is just now
right?
like shaking and goosebumps and everything. It's the same as when the dog goes into the water, comes out,
Mhm.
and shakes off all that stuff. That residual energy gets left behind. The next person that walks in the room picks up on that. And
Right.
guess what? A ghost is born.
Yep. And that's how it sticks to you,
Mm-hmm.
literally, like negative energy sticks to you. So every time I get a spirit or I get something from somebody, it has a tendency to stay with you. Residual spirits. And then that's
Yes.
exactly it. That's how you
Yes.
get fragments of people's souls or fragments of people, I should say,
Yes.
fragments of
And
people's
so
spirits.
and so when you have people that have tours of houses, and I'm going to bring up the story Kara from she was with us last week.
Yes, the conjuring.
Yeah. So she sent me this and that's how that happens. So when you have a house like that has tours or giving weekly tours, and now you have all these new people coming in and all these new people getting jump scares and having experiences. Guess what? Now they're leaving their
Hmm.
residual fear
Yep.
behind for the next. And so every time there's a tour comes in, guess what? The ghost
It
gets bigger
relisses.
and bigger and bigger. And you know
Exactly.
what? Honestly, this is where I think shadow people come from. I think shadow people are a human construct. It's because we are
100%.
so addicted to fear and going
Hmm.
in and learning and then getting
Hmm.
scared and running for our lives. I think we are so addicted to that we are creating shadow people for the next
Hmm.
person to see or for that shadow to be up in the corner of their bedroom all the time. We are
Hmm.
creating those with our
Yeah.
fear and dropping it off. And there is a way. There is a way. We're smudge. Okay, we can
Yeah.
smudge and show that we're not
And life is
living
so
in
much
fear.
better right
Yeah,
now. Just smudging, just cleaned the air, changed it.
yeah,
So then you can
yeah.
change
And
an energy too, right?
yes, and again,
Mhm.
it's exactly what where was I saying? Yeah. So when you have the dog that goes in the water and gets
Mhm.
saturated, comes out, shakes off. Now that dog feels great, right?
Right.
And again, I'm not saying that we're dogs. I'm just saying
No, no, I
that's the
get it.
only comparison that I can come to.
Had to.
So Kara sent me this. I just got to get okay.
So
Uh
just one quick thing.
sure.
It's really important, even after you're telling stories or you've even been to a place, just to cleanse your air. And one of the
Yes.
recommendations is if you have sage, burn sage. If you can't stand the smell of it, I do know people, even indigenous people, that can't take the smell of it. So I always recommend some warm water in a spray bottle and put some lavender. Lavender's a really good cleanser as well because it will also
Mm-hmm.
get rid of fleas on your cat or dog.
Mm-hmm.
Some lavender if you have anything that you have that which goes back to another video that we had done about things that appear to be something, right? So like we had the turkey feather that was appearing to be an eagle feather, right?
Hmm.
So if you have the intention and you all you have is tea tree oil, put a couple drops of that into some warm water and spray it.
Yep.
And
Or
spray it
bay
with
leaf.
intention. Yep.
You can burn
Just
a bay
spray.
leaf. Bay
Bay
leaf
leaf
does the
is good.
same.
Even some
Yep.
sage that you put into your food, right?
Yes.
Sage or cloves, burn that too. But,
Hmm.
get something that's going to just let go. And if you don't have anything, you're like, I got nothing, whatever, I got nothing. And then
Yeah.
just take 5 minutes, sit down and say, anything that's attached itself to me, you're no longer wanted or need it. So you need to leave. And
Hmm.
that's it. I'm all about simple. So as simple as that.
Hmm.
When I go for I haven't been for one in a long time, but I used to go every week for crystal healing, crystal every couple of weeks, crystal healing. Anyway, the person that was doing this Reiki crystal healing on me, she used to see the spirits jump off of me. And she'd say that there was and she was not that way at all. And it's like the only client that I used to freak her out because she said, I'm in the middle of it. And all of a sudden you just see these things jumping off you. She said, and they had nothing to do with you. They were
Hmm.
residual
Just jumping
spirit.
off like fleas
Just,
almost.
yeah, just jumping off. And as she was cleaning me out, these things were just jumping off. So some days when you
Hmm.
feel blue or bad and you know under reason why, it's usually a residual. So just tell them to
Yeah.
go. I need to get rid
Just
of
go.
this, get rid of this. Yeah, just go.
Yep.
And we have that power because things are so attached to fear and we're all attached. It's all of us.
Yes.
Notice how
Yes.
people lead with the negative, right?
Yes. And fear
When
is a gift. Fear is a
fear
gift
is
that we
again,
were
yeah,
given when we were born.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I know
And
like for example, the negative stuff, we're going to do a show on this one too about the words that people say and the meanings. But when
mhm.
my son was in the back of our car and he was rapping an Eminem song in Mi'kmaq, the language. And it was absolutely beautiful. He was like, Guay de Luisi, Guay. And I'm like, wow, like that's amazing. Like I'm really proud of him for that. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm rapping this in Mi'kmaq. So I told my sister, and the first thing she said was, oh, there's lots of people that do that already.
Oh,
So that's diminishing somebody else, and
yes.
every single person, there was the couple people said, oh my God, that's really, really cool. But as you keep telling people your thoughts or your ideas, people will diminish them. And that's a negative thing that
Yes.
sticks with you as well. So it's just important to cleanse yourself. But he's
Yes.
absolutely awesome at it. And I'm so proud of him for that.
Hmm.
But people will diminish that. So
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. And when uncle jumps out of the woods and scares you, that's in a
Hmm.
way that is diminishing you because you're hearing something and then all of a sudden somebody jumps out, scares you, and then
Hmm.
laughs at you. To
Mm.
me, that's diminishing. But you're the one that's left with the trauma. They're the ones that are left with the joke.
Yeah,
So,
I thought that was
uh,
absolutely freaking hilarious. Like now when I look back, but I
yeah.
was terrified at
Yes.
12. But so I love to hear Tara. I've already heard Kara's story.
Okay.
But I love to hear it. Let's go. Sorry, I'm gonna
Okay,
stop.
so Kara, who was on with us last week, I'm going to read this the best I can. They had gone to the Conjuring House in May of 2023.
Yeah,
Where is
her
the
and her
Conjuring
son.
House?
Yeah,
Where
her
is
and her
that?
son. It is I think it's in Massachusetts, I think.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's the house from The Conjuring, which would have been, I think, Amityville or something.
Amityville, yes, okay.
I think.
So her husband Brad and her son Fraser, they were there in May of 2023. When we
Oh,
were
I'm
in the
sorry.
base, that
It's in Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
My
Okay.
my apology.
But it's still the Amityville. Is it still
Uh,
the Amityville house?
yeah, this is the real Conjuring house. Was the parent house, and it was in Boston. So yes, the
Boston.
Amityville is based on the Boston house, and the Conjuring house itself for the movie set was actually in Rhode Island, and they're saying it is
Okay.
Probably, yeah. So I
Okay.
just looked it up
So
quickly.
So when we were in the basement, an area heightened in paranormal activity, according to the tour guides. And again, let's go back to when you're
What you
having
just
tours
said.
like that, you got the jump scares and then people leave their residual energy behind. According to the tour guides, it was heightened paranormal activity. Brad was sure he felt somebody touch and run their fingers through his hair, but no one on the tour was anywhere near him. Then, in the gift shop at the end of the tour, there was a mirror. Fraser said he was looking at his reflection in the
Oh, yes.
mirror, and something about his reflection started to look off. The longer he stared at it, the more it didn't look
Mhm.
like his own reflection.
Distortion.
So, yes, very
Oh,
much distortion. Yes. So that I have heard tell of. Uh, I was, oh gosh, there was a
um, and
meditation technique
w-
I was told
let's
to
just
try that.
let's just add to that I know Brad, and Brad does not believe in any of this.
Hmm.
And he
Yes.
literally went to the Conjuring house because he knows that his son and his wife absolutely love like paranormal stuff.
Hmm.
And so for him to have that experience, and I mean, it's me telling that, and people probably go, well, but for him to have that experience, that was actually because he
Hmm.
would not believe in anything. Like even
Yes.
when I was doing readings for them at their home, he was like, yeah, no. Then he
Yeah,
started
I
to
don't want to do
believe a
that.
little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
that's awesome.
is it some part of him does believe, but he's uncomfortable believing it? Or is it he's like, you know what, this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Not in denial, but absolutely this does not exist. I know
I
for a fact it doesn't.
absolutely I actually think that every single person is a believer.
Hmm.
I always say I love my favorite people are, well, maybe I'm going to curse. Uh-oh.
That's all right.
Are narcissists, assholes, and skeptics.
Hmm.
Those are my favorite people. But skeptics, I love them because I'm not there to convince them. They usually convince me that they're a
Hmm.
believer, to be honest.
Hmm.
So, because people who are skeptics have a already ingrained belief in their head about what is not existing. So they want to see it to believe it.
Hmm.
They want to smell it to believe it. And they will take anything that they have that's happened to them and
Hmm.
dismiss that as logic. Nah,
Yes.
it just happens, or da da da
Yes.
da da, until they can't explain it anymore. That's
Yes.
a skeptic.
Yeah.
And I love skeptics because they're the ones that open up our eyes to say, is it real or isn't it? Because once we get in our head that something is a spirit or is a ghost, then we continue to believe that, right?
Hmm.
So skeptics are really wonderful to have because they will go, but no, it's not a ghost. It was just the branch moving.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, let's explore the branch moving. Let's see what was all around it. And not until they get to the couldas and wouldas and shouldas, then they actually believe.
Hmm.
So usually, so if skeptics are people that usually have had experiences or and try to explain them away, or people who have want answers to questions that maybe they grew up with, that they don't understand. Um,
Hmm.
maybe they grew up in a super religious house or they had preconceived notions of things that have happened, um, or they have connection to religions of some sort, and though that's all acceptable and all normal and so on. So I love skeptics, and I think he may have. I don't think he's truly 100% a skeptic. Um, I think he's just was like, this is crazy. And then it happened to him, and he was like, oh, I can't explain it because there's nothing else
Yes.
you can do to explain it. There's no,
Yes.
um, what do you call it? Back scratcher hanging, coming down, scratching you on your back shoulder and then leaving.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
I'll
Uh,
tell you, when I was little, we lived in Thompson, Manitoba. I
mhm.
think the first time I was allowed to go to the fair, oh gosh, how old was I? I was in grade one, so I guess I was around 5 years old. And so this was the first time I was allowed to go with with my friends.
Mhm.
Back in those days, we had a little bit more freedom. So we went to the fair and everybody wanted to go into the House of Horrors. And I got halfway through, the House of Horrors, you got the maze and the mirrors and all that stuff. And the lights were getting louder and the screams were getting louder. And the kids running back after they see what's at the end of the hallway. They're running and they're screaming. And I'm like, nope, nope, I don't want to be there. Turns out that there was this fake gorilla with the big claws and all that stuff. And it was just absolutely, and I am so glad I turned around and went back. I'm like, no, you go ahead, you go ahead. I walked
Oh,
out and everybody, all my friends were like, oh my God, that was so terrifying. I'm so glad I didn't.
I
I do.
I do that. I'm not a fan of haunted houses. I do not like to have things jump out in front of me. I hate it.
Yeah,
And my son, same way, he just turned 11 last week. And when he thinks he can do it, he really does. And we'll head into this haunted house. And as soon as there's something, he's gone. He's done, just like
yeah,
me. I had the experience when I was pregnant with him. We went into a haunted house, and like people think, oh, you're the medium, nothing is ever going to scare you, blah, 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 blah. Like those things, when like just to have your piece of your spirit scared out of your body,
yes,
it's, I remember coming. This is funny. Went through this haunted house, and the first thing that jumped out and scared me, I like hit it because I'm like, that's what I'm doing. I'm in the dark, so I hit it,
yeah.
and the person went, ouch, like that. They broke character, and I'm like, listen, I'm pregnant. Don't you scare me like that.
No jumps,
And so as
yes.
soon as I said that, they're like, do you want to leave? And I'm like, yes. And as I'm leaving, I have to walk through this tunnel, and it's doing the thing like this, so it looks like
Mm-hmm.
you're like drunk or whatever. And
In
I'm
some
just like,
vortex, yeah.
get me out of here. So they stopped the whole thing so I could walk out. And as I'm walking out, the person outside didn't know, and he was dressed up like a zombie. And he was like jumping out. And I said, listen, I look at him, you jump out at me, and I'm going to kick you.
I'm gonna have
And
to
so
scissor
he
kick you.
literally escorted me down the stairs, and I'm sitting on the bench, and right next to me on the bench is this zombie, right,
Yeah.
just sitting there waiting to jump. And I looked at him and I was like, I will share this bench with you. I am pregnant, and I'm a cranky
Mm-hmm.
pregnant woman at that. And
Mm-hmm.
I do not want you. And he was like, duly noted. And so I didn't ruin it for anybody else, but it was absolutely hilarious seeing other people walk out of there because they think because I'm sitting on the bench
Mm-hmm.
that that's perfect. It's just a statue. So he actually got more scares from that.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I just thought that was absolutely hilarious because he'd walk by and go, ah, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just a little, ah, like, oh yeah. So anyway,
I
that was my
have,
little, oh, I can't
well,
deal.
I have now, this is, I don't know how scary it is. To some, it would be scary. To
Hmm.
me, it was like, wow, that actually happened. I was there, I saw it.
Hmm.
A couple years ago, well, I lived in Ontario and I
Hmm.
came to Nova Scotia for a holiday and brought my daughter and son-in-law
Hmm.
and my granddaughter. They met me here a week after, or a week later. So I was here for 2 weeks. They were here for a week. Anyway, I was staying actually where I'm staying right now. So this is where I was staying. So when they came, I wanted to take them over to where my sister was living. She was living in this house that was, gosh, easily 250 years old, maybe 300 years old. I don't know, but it was an old, old, old house. And it's near Middle Musquodoboit. It's in Chatswood on top of a hill on McFettridge Road. I don't know if I want to get, well, I guess I just narrowed it down. Anyway, uh, when I first, the very first time I walked in the house, like I walked in the front porch and I was walking behind my sister and she turned around and she puts her hands up like this. She stopped me and she's like, just so you know, there's no weird stuff goes on in this house. There's nothing weird. And I said, oh, well, that's a disappointment.
That's,
And she's like, you mean
thanks.
you're okay? She's like, you mean you're okay with the weird stuff? And I said, bring it on. I love the weird stuff.
Mm.
And she's like, okay, yeah, there's weird stuff going on in the house. There's weird stuff. So I said, don't tell me. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out what's going on in the house. Um, so I didn't see anything, but I could feel certain
Mhm.
things. So fast forward another, say, 3 years. Now I'm here
Mhm.
with my daughter, son-in-law, and my granddaughter. And my granddaughter, gosh, how old was she at the time? She was 4. She would have been 4 at the time. Very articulate little person too. And
Mhm.
um and she knew what she knew. She gosh, I'm not allowed to tell her story because it scares her, it scares my daughter to tell that story.
Mhm.
So anyway, so we go over to my sister's house. I had her. I was supposed to have her for the day and for overnight, while my
Mhm.
son-in-law and my daughter, they were going to stay at an Airbnb in Dartmouth and just have,
Mhm.
grown-ups night. And then
Mhm.
and we were going to sleep in a tent in the yard here, and we had another girl sleep over. So we were just going to have, just a sleepover in the tent in the backyard with popcorn
Right.
and, more
Mm.
spooky stories.
Right.
So what ended up happening is I went over to my sister's, and she says to my granddaughter, "Do you want to go upstairs and see all the really old stuff?" So there's stuff in that attic I'm guessing is well over 200 years old, like eyeglasses and lanterns and beds and just really, really like beyond antique stuff.
Mm.
There was a chalkboard slate. I have a picture of her holding this chalkboard slate that was used. Kids used a slate in school because they didn't have paper. Um,
Right.
and uh and so she's standing there and she's holding it, but she keeps doing this, like, and I'm like, Alexis, look at me. I'm trying to take a picture of you. Stand still. And she keeps looking to the side,
Mm.
and she's shaking, and then and I could tell she's got the fake smile. She's just
Mhm.
like, hey, let's get this over with. So I get a really good
Mhm.
picture of her holding this slate, and she's like, okay, can we go outside? All right, let's go outside. Because I told her there was a tree house out there. So she says, let's go outside. All right. Because normally she's not the one to direct traffic. She's the one that goes with.
Mhm.
Anyway, she's like, I want to go outside. Okay, so we go outside, and where I showed her where the tree house was, and even that she was acting really, really off, really uneasy. She gets up in the treehouse, she hits her head on one of the cross boards and
Mhm.
cries, but she was really uneasy being in that yard.
Mm.
And so I said, okay, I'm just gonna take her home. Let's get all settled up. We got to set up the tent and our little campsite in the backyard. And, you know, I invited my sister over, but she couldn't come over. But anyway, I sent my daughter a text message saying, Alexis bumped her head on the the crossbeam on the
Mhm.
house, the tree house, and she's a little upset, but we'll take care of it. But it was the car ride back here. That's what really got me. Here's what Alexis told me. I
Okay.
said, I said, what did you think of the house?
Mhm.
And it was okay. It was okay. Yeah, it was okay. I said, what did you think of that really, really old stuff? Like, that's older than
Pretty
Grampy.
cool.
That's older than
Wow.
Grampy stuff, or my
Mm.
Grampy stuff. And it was okay. And then she says, but that little boy up there, he shouldn't be living up there by himself. And I said, what little boy? She said, well, there's a little boy and he was hiding in a box beside me and he's really scared. He should really go to his home. He shouldn't be up there.
Wow.
He's scared. So I said, can you tell me what this little boy looks like? And she described a little boy that you would imagine a little farm boy wearing oversized
Mhm.
work pants from older brothers and with
Mhm.
suspenders, and they're cut off at the knees and they're
Mhm.
frayed, and an oversized work shirt and
Mhm.
with suspenders and a dirty face. And she said he had blonde hair. And I said, well, how old do you think he was? And she said, well, he was tiny enough to fit inside that box.
Wow.
So I have a picture of her with her eyes going like this, looking to the side at this little boy hiding in a box. And she said he was hiding in the box because he was afraid of us. And he kept,
Hmm.
she said he was doing this
Hmm.
and he kept peeking up out of the box. So I phoned my sister. I said, what's with the little boy in your upstairs? She's like, what do you mean, what little boy? And I said, well,
Hmm.
this is what he looks like. And she's like, oh, you saw him, did you? And I said, I didn't see him. Alexis saw
Hmm.
him. And she said, yeah, he comes downstairs once in a while, and there is an old man that's in the house, and he's not a very nice man, and he chases this little boy all over and gives him heck for being downstairs and not upstairs.
Wow.
So what Alexis saw, and I'm not sure. Actually, no. The next time I went over there, my sister asked me. She's like, "What box were you talking about?" So I take her right upstairs, and I said, "In that box." And she's like, "Yes, yes, I
Hmm.
know all about the
Wow.
box." So
Oh,
Alexis saw it clear as anything,
wow.
clear, and
Wow.
she just wanted out away from that house. So
Hmm.
I phoned my daughter and told her that she bumped her. I sent her a text, and so she calls me, and I said, yeah, she did have a little experience there. She saw a little boy in the house. And then my daughter instantly got in the car and she's like, we're coming over. We're coming to
Wow.
get her. Because that's how afraid my daughter is of those
Hmm.
things. But
And yeah.
that I know was not embellished. Poor Alexis, she'll probably remember that for the rest of her life, but that I know 100% was not
Hmm.
embellished.
I
And a
I can tell
campfire
you
story.
campfire story. I can tell you. I got a good one. One as you were talking about this because these are things that have happened to me, very similar to what happened to your granddaughter. And these things happened all of my life, which
Hmm.
is why I always say when people say to me, when were you psychic or when did you find out? And I'm like, I never did. Like, I'm still
Yeah,
wondering when that's going to happen
yeah.
because I
Nobody
always
told
thought
me.
that every single person was the same.
Hmm.
you know,
Yes.
right? So, like I don't know that I'm any different from anybody else, but I had experience like, and I love that she had that experience. But I'm going to share something, and it creeped me out. And this is probably the first time I realized, or one of the first times I realized I could actually see spirits and ghosts and stuff. And my dad lived near Milton, not Milton, Milford. Sorry, couldn't get that out. And him and his wife, Janet, they lived in this old hotel. Now, her family was she come from a family of crystal. Her mother was a crystal and tea leaf reader. She believed in that, but both of her parents were teachers, and the grandfather, her father, never believed in anything like this, but her mom did. And they had owned this hotel from the 1800s.
Hmm.
And they had 9 kids. So they had to own a place big enough for everybody. So they had moved back to Cape Breton. They gave it to my dad and Janet to rent or whatever. And I was about 15 when I arrived there. And it was in and around my birthday, which was in the middle of the summer. Um, and so I was there and nobody said anything to me. And my stepmother knows because when I met my no, I was older than that because I met my stepmother when I was 17. In and around Halloween,
Hmm.
16 or 17. Anyway, so I don't remember my age, but I remember being around this table and she's talking to me and she's like, let me know if you feel anything here. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, feel anything, right? Like just the person standing behind
Mm.
you. That's the only person I see. So
Hmm.
nobody tells me anything. So she was, where you want to sleep tonight? And I'm like, well, I don't know. So she decides to give me this room. And their room is beside the room that she gave me. So I'm upstairs and I wasn't allowed to share a room with my sister because, we couldn't do that. So we go upstairs and there's just like 7 rooms or whatever in this old
Hmm.
hotel. So we're going upstairs, and my sister's like, Lori, I'm creeped right out. She's like, nope, I'm not doing this. She said, I will sleep on the couch if I have to, but I'm not doing this. Because I'm like, well, why? She goes, I just got a bad feeling. I'm like, it's nothing. Right. I was like, it's nothing. So she
Mm-hmm.
ends up like funking with my half sister, and they're like having a grand old time telling ghost stories in their room. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there and I can hear squeaks. And I'm going to rewind this a little bit. There was a dog. This dog was named Sandy. And Sandy, they still have a Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
My dad has passed in 2022, and they had a Sandy when he died. Now they still have a Sandy. So every dog they had the name Sandy, basically
Ours
one
was
type.
George. Ours
Yeah.
was
And
George.
this was a husky dog. And this dog was so protective over me. And so anyway, it didn't like anybody else. It like my stepmother. She was a Samoyed husky, it was a white husky. It
Mm-hmm.
liked my stepmother and it liked the family, but you know, I was a stranger. So when I went
Mm-hmm.
upstairs to go to bed, I could hear squeaking at the door of like doors, and I'm looking and I'm seeing these two eyes
Mm-hmm.
peering back at me. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what the hell? So I'm not scared. So I go over to the closet and I open it up, and there's a doll there. And I'm like, oh, hell no.
Oh no.
Oh, hell no. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I said to my stepmother, I said, there's a doll in here. I can't.
Yeah.
I cannot do this. She's like, oh, no worries. She's like, that. It's no big deal. It's just a doll.
Just a
No,
doll.
it's not just a doll. Uh-uh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-uh. So doll goes, right? Da 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 da. Doll goes. Great. So I'm getting ready to go to bed, and I'm like brushing my hair. And that time I had long, long hair. Like I used to have really long blonde hair, and I'm just brushing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could feel the brush going through my hair by itself. Absolutely true story. Freaks me out telling you this. And it's going through. And I'm like, where the heck is this coming from? And I look in the mirror and I see flash. Like, what the hell is this? So I'm like, oh my God, Laura, you're losing your mind. Like you're losing your
Mm-hmm.
mind. So I go to bed. I'm finally in bed, and I could hear like squeaking at the door. And I'm like,
Ooh, yes.
I yell out loud, if this is this effing doll, you need to go back because you
Mm-hmm.
ain't getting in here. So the dog is
Mm.
outside and the dog is growling outside of my door. And I'm like, okay. I was like, okay, Sandy, you can come in. So Sandy comes in, lays on the bed beside me. So basically
Mm-hmm.
takes up the whole entire bed. And I got this little thing, and I'm just
Yeah.
cuddled up inside of him because I'm like, he's protecting me. Never had anything else. Look up, and there's this thing looking at me. And I'm like, oh my God. All right, what do I do about this? And it's coming from the closet. So all of a sudden the closet door closes, and I'm like, oh my Lord Jesus. Okay. And then I just start praying, right? I'm just like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I finally go to bed. Don't have any nightmares, don't have any dreams. I just like literally wake up. I'm like full of dog hair from head to toe. I'm like, like
Yeah.
pulling it out of my mouth because he was practically laying on top of me. So I go downstairs, and my stepmother was like, what was all that commotion last night? And I'm like, look, that doll is creepy, first of all. Like, it ain't getting anywhere near me. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started explaining to her about the brush that was I felt going through my hair.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
she was like,
yes.
I didn't tell you this. And I'm like, oh shit.
Oh, here
So
we
here's what
go.
happened. It this very old hotel. There was a young girl. She was 17 years old, and she died of scarlet fever. But she used to sit in front of the mirror and brush her hair, right? So
Oh,
she would brush her hair and
yes.
she'd look at her hair and she'd admire her hair. But as she was getting the scarlet fever, and that's how she passed away, her whole like skin started peeling off of her face. Now, not in a creepy way. Like I'm not
Yeah.
having anybody envision that, but her skin used to peel off her face. And so she used to like the legend story is that she used to like touch her face, and then she would touch her hair. So there would be flakes that would come, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
so she got really sick, and she ended up dying at 17, and she died in that room. And so I'm like, okay, well, that has nothing to do with that freaking creepy doll, right? Nothing. So I was like, you're
Mm-hmm.
not telling. And so I said to myself, there's no way you're telling me that that doll is hers because I'm back to the doll again. And she was like, oh, no, no, that doll was mine when I was a kid. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not coming back with me because I really kind of thought that that's what was going on, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. There's more to the story. So
Ah.
the next day, I stayed overnight again, and my stepmother's like, I'm going to sleep in a different room tonight. Why don't you take our room and take Sandy? Sandy's not allowed in the room with you tonight because the dog got in trouble. I got in trouble because
Mm-hmm.
they don't let the dogs in the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but like, he protected me
I
all night.
I need, yes,
I need my
absolutely.
dog. I need that dog. I don't own a dog, but like, and I've only owned two dogs in my life, but whatever. So anyway, get ready to go to bed. And they had gone earlier in the day, they had gone to the market, gone somewhere, and I could literally hear thump, 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 thump. And it was like, I look over and there it was nothing. There was nothing there. And so I'm sitting on the couch and my sister was like, did you hear that? And I'm like, yeah. Like, so when we checked it out, and so anyway, we heard that three times. Somebody coming down the stairs, going out the front door, and slamming the door. And I'm like, what the heck is that? So we let that one go. And I'm like, okay. And then I
Mm-hmm.
kept seeing these boots. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm telling my sister everything. And my sister's like, I know you're not crazy because you're my sister, but she's like, you're telling me crazy tales.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't see the boots. So anyway, the whole story about that was that there was an old man that lived there. They were like the caretaker or whatever. And as he would go down for work, he would run down the stairs and he would leave and he'd slam the door. But he always came back for his hat. Every day he'd come back for his hat. So that's why we would hear the door open and close, open and close, open and close. And he would do that all the time. And my stepmother goes, oh, we hear that all the time. We've heard that since we were kids. And I'm like, oh my geez. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I get ready for bed. And I'm like, so I said to her, so there's ghosts all over this house, right? Like I said, you can't hide nothing from me anymore. You told me about the girl with scarlet fever. You told me about the dude that like looks like a train conductor. And you told me
Mm-hmm.
about the other spirits that are there because there was lots of them. And I said, listen, I'm seeing all of them. I'm hearing them. I'm feeling them, right? Like some creepy crap, right? So I said, I don't need anything tonight. So she goes, so that's why you need to sleep in our room because there's nothing that happens in that room. And I'm like, okay, all right.
Sure.
And so she says to me, I know that you do this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know I do this stuff. So how do you know I do this stuff? Right? Like, how do you know?
Yeah.
So I go to bed and I'm like, okay, closet doors are closed. There's a door up, there's a chair up against the door. I made my dad do that. I made my dad was the biggest skeptic in the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no joke. So he thought, well, if this is going to help you, sure. So
Mm.
he puts the chair up by the door and he like takes Sandy outside and he's like, all curtains are closed, windows are locked, all the door, like everything is okay. So there's nothing here, Lori. I looked under the bed. I'm a teenager. I never
Mm-hmm.
checked under the bed. I didn't think of that one. So
Oh, under
anyway,
the bed.
leave.
Yes.
He leaves. Everyone's getting ready to go sleep. We're all there. And the dog starts barking outside of the door. And he just wouldn't stop barking. And I can hear my stepmother tell the dog to keep quiet, right? Because of course, it's disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
He stops. And then he hears the guy go down the stairs. So it's just like routine. He's getting up to go downstairs. So I knew it was about 2 o'clock in the morning because, and then you can hear the other people, you could hear the kids playing and all that kind of stuff, the creepy stuff. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, I just need to go to bed. Like, I just need to go to sleep. Like, I'm done because I'm thinking my brain is fried right now. And I'm like, that girl can stay next door because she ain't coming with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like laying in bed and the dog starts barking again. So I'm like, I'm going to make an exception. I'm going to open the door. I go
Mm-hmm.
over, Sandy comes in, lays on the bed next to me, or lays on the bed, and I go and get in bed, and he's getting ready to snuggle. And I'm like, okay. So I go ready to lay in bed and I look and there's this full body apparition sitting on the bottom of the bed. And it's the girl with the black hair and
Oh
her
gosh.
skin is peeling. And this is absolutely true story. And I just want to cry because I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck is happening? And she looks at me and no kidding, she goes, shh. And I went,
Yeah.
okay.
Don't
So
say
I'm
a
like,
word. Yeah.
I'm just gonna, and she's at the end of the bed. So at this point in time, I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't go to bed because she's there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you need to go back to the closet. And she goes,
Yes.
so I'm like, okay. So I kind of step backwards, like, those movies where people walk backwards and they're like, all right.
Oh,
And so I'm
yes.
like, I close my eyes and I'm like, please let it go away. Please let it I open my eyes and it's gone. So I'm like, okay, Lori, it's your imagination. The dog is still looking at there and the dog's like, grr, grr,
Mm-hmm.
grr. I'm like, damn it. So I'm like, okay, is it okay to go to bed? So I'm snuggling now with the doggy again, like with the hair all in my mouth. And
Yes.
so I'm like, okay, this is good. You're just going a little bit crazy here. You're just thinking
Mm-hmm.
about it. And so I'm like, I'm laying like this. And all of a sudden I remember this. I turn my head this way and her face is right there. And she goes, shh. And I'm like,
No. Oh,
okay. And she
oh,
goes,
that would have been the end of me right there.
I'm not 100% true story. I thought I was going to piss my pants. And I'm
Yeah.
I think I'm crying by this time. And she goes, leave him alone. And
With
then she
who?
goes, boo. So she
No.
went, boo. No
Oh,
joke.
no.
Then she's gone. Dog lost his fucking shit. Like,
Yeah.
sorry for cursing again, but
That's all right.
lost his crap everywhere. He's barking, he's like growling, and he's like ready to kill something because he's, of course, looking at this too. So I'm like, all right. So there's a big commotion in the house, and everyone's up, and the dog is barking. Put the dog outside. And I'm like, no, you can't put the dog outside. This is my protector. So I'm telling my stepmother what happened at breakfast in the morning. We had fresh eggs from a chicken. She was like, "Oh, that's Annabelle. Oh, Annabelle now. Okay, that's Annabelle."
Okay.
She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "That was the girl from Scarlet Fever." I forgot to tell you that your stepbrother, whose name is Philip, by the way, I Philip, it he used to sleep in that room. Oh, and by the way, did I tell you that the spirit has a crush on him? So the first night that I
Oh,
slept there,
leave him
she
alone.
thought that I was his girlfriend. She didn't understand.
Okay.
So the second night, she's like, "Oh, you're still here, are you? Oh, no, you need to leave him alone." So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So now this is making sense to me why she would do this. And so I'm like, I am not, and I repeat, not sleeping here another night. I am going home to my home. And so,
Mm.
anyway, we had a really good, not chuckle about it because I was freaked out, but my sister was really freaked out. And she only half believed me because she's a little bit of a skeptic, or she's not now, but she was a little bit of a skeptic. So she's like, just stay and come sleep with us in the room. So all the girls will have a
Mm.
slumber party. And I'm like, okay. So this is
Mm.
cool. I'll do that. So the third night when I slept in the big room, and we're sleeping in the sleeping bags, and we're like, okay, this is happening. And all day weird things were happening. Spirits were coming out of the woodwork, and the dog would not leave me alone.
Mm.
So the dog was not allowed inside the bedroom. So I'm like, oh my God. But that dog slept outside of that room the entire night, stood on guard.
Yeah.
Lovely. I'm like, good. I'm going to get a good night's sleep.
So,
And I turn, and there she is again.
yeah. So the stepmother says to Lori, nothing ever happens in this room. And Lori
No,
says, hold my juice box and watch
so much
this.
juice box. And watch this. Exactly. And I'm
Yes.
like, so this is the third room. Two
Yeah.
other people are in this room with me, my half sister and my sister. And I'm like, they're sound asleep. And I'm like, so no
Hmm.
one is going to believe me. No one's going to believe me. And
Yeah,
she literally,
nobody
she
will
came
believe
over
you.
to me and she said, I told you to leave him alone. And I
Hmm.
was like, uh-huh, mm-hmm, yep,
Yes,
yep,
yes, you did.
no
I
problem. Yep.
acknowledge that you
And
said
I
that
went,
to me.
I just went, okay. I said, in my infinite wisdom, was like, instead of screaming or I didn't want to wake anyone else up, I said to her, you can have him.
Yeah,
He's my brother.
he's my
She was
brother.
like, she just looks at me. Her face did not distort. It wasn't creepy, creepy, creepy. It was like her face turns to the side and she just goes, huh. And that was the last I ever
Yeah.
heard of her. She left
Wow.
and it was the last I ever heard of her. And that dog did not bark. The dog, all I could hear was the dog go,
Gone.
and that was
You
it.
know,
And 3 days there, and that was a friggin' enough for me. I was gone.
hmm.
And yeah. So that
And
was my story that.
yeah,
Mhm.
that, oh my gosh, just seeing her sit on the bed, I would be like, all right, bye-bye. I would
That
be
was
so
the
gone, so
That's
gone.
only happened to me so far. I'm 51 years old. That's only happened to me 3 times. And that
Hmm.
first time was the time I'm like, this, okay, there's definitely something to what's going on with me. Who am I?
Who am
And
I?
then
Yeah.
when I was in the middle of a paranormal investigation and full-bodied apparition appeared to me as well.
Hmm.
And then stole my shoes.
Oh
A
gosh.
funny story too. We'll tell that another time.
Yes.
And then came out of the TV and happened to be at the time, the very day that they caught Osama bin Laden. And we were all watching the TV and there was four of us and we all saw the same thing. So
Oh
that
my
was like,
gosh.
yeah, it was pretty funny. But that was that in there was another time when I saw that, but I was not even planning on telling that story at all because it didn't
Yeah,
come to
well,
me
I'm
until
glad
you
you
told
did.
your story about the boy in the
I'm glad you
box. And I'm
did.
like, yeah,
Wow.
it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Wow. I
They
don't
no
like
longer,
faces up here. Yeah.
yeah. I
So I'm
don't
just
like
looking.
things that are right by me. And I think
No.
when they appear to me, like I'm going to scream,
Hmm.
I'm going to scream. I also know now how protected I am and how to prevent myself
Yes.
from getting drug into it because I still have sometimes it does happen. Sometimes the spirit doesn't understand. They want a
Hmm.
message delivered so badly, and they're just like, I'm there, here I am. And I'm just like, you need to sit the hell down because that's not
Yes.
how you get my attention.
Yes.
Now I will ignore you.
So so as so I'm just looking at the time here. We
Right.
are so far over, but that's okay. We,
That's okay.
me being the producer, I'm not on a time limit. I don't have somebody in my ear saying, "Come on, wrap it up, wrap it up." I don't have that.
Lori,
I'm the
shut
person that
up,
says wrap it
Lori.
up.
Shut up, Lori.
It's okay. We're all good. We're all good. So really, the reason I wanted to do this particular topic is just to kind of illustrate that those campfire stories can be embellished to the point where they are absolutely 100% real.
Yeah.
Starting from, Anna's story where she hears somebody walking around her.
Hmm.
Now, was there somebody walking around her? Who did the footprints belong to? Um, and then, Alexis saw something in a box, and it turned out that the stories matched up. And
Hmm.
but I'm not going to go to Alexis and say, "Hey, this house is haunted," and blah blah blah. I'm not going to do that to a 4-year-old. She
No,
saw it. So there's a difference between belief and knowing, and she's a
exactly.
knower. She knows that
Uh-huh.
this happened. So
Mhm.
um
My
I
son's the
had
same way. He's a knower and he
he's a
sees it.
knower. Yeah.
He sees future events. And he's been
Yeah.
proven right 100% of the time.
Well, I
So,
was when I was in West Virginia, and my good friend Nori, I'm trying to get some communication here because we got to get her on here, and we
mhm.
have a very special topic for her. You're gonna love her. Anyway,
Mhm.
um, when I was at her place in West Virginia, we were in a bed and breakfast, and so before we went to our rooms. Um, like we just kind of met up downstairs and we're deciding, hey, let's watch a movie before we go to bed. Anyway, right above where the TV
Mhm.
was, there was a mezzanine and there was a chapel. And so we're just sitting there, and then next thing you know, we hear somebody walk up the stairs beside us and then across the mezzanine. And I'm like watching this and waiting for somebody to appear because it was footsteps, like
Mm-hmm.
footfalls on the floor right above us. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
watching, and I just caught the corner. I looked at her, and she's doing the same thing. So she's tracking with her eyes the same
Oh,
sound. And we want, and then next thing you know, the footfalls are all the way back down to the end of the hall. And I looked over at her and I said, "What was that?" And she's like, "Well, I was going to tell you about that, but I figured you'd find out soon enough." There you go. So,
very, oh, wow.
campfire ghost stories.
I know.
I
I love
love them.
Campfire
I
Ghost
love
Stories.
them and I love them and I hate them and I'm scared of them and I just can't get enough of them. Anyway, and again,
Mm-hmm.
what you said in the very beginning, you have to be very careful because it could trigger something. And
Mm-hmm.
it could also trigger, if enough people tell many, many stories in the same area, like the
Mm-hmm.
Conjuring House or like
Mm-hmm.
like other haunted houses, where there's
Yep.
tours, you can pick up on other people's residual and you can
Yep.
take their residual energy home and
Uh-huh.
create that same thing
Mm-hmm.
with the dark energy, the
Mm-hmm.
dark shadow in the corner. I was talking with somebody, a friend of mine in Oklahoma. He said his wife sees a shadow person in their bedroom every single night.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yep.
said, "What does she do during the week? Where does she go?" Well, she goes to church every 2 weeks, and he's like, "I don't go to her church because they scare the crap out of me."
Right.
Okay, well, that's where
That's where
she's
she's
getting
getting
it
it
from.
from.
That's where it's coming from. But anyway, I
Um,
just wanted to get on and
mm,
talk about these and just kind of illustrate
I
how
have
fun they are and how
so
scary they are.
many. I have so many
I've got
experiences to
tons,
share.
yes.
And the one that
Yes.
I was going to share, we're gonna do this again.
Yes, we
And
are gonna
it's
definitely.
definitely a story that when I'm gonna tell you, you've heard this before when I've met the witch,
Hmm.
the actual witch. And she was on my car, and yeah, and there was a high speed chase with a witch on my car. Just saying. So
I
yeah,
mean, that's a movie in itself.
it's so funny. The person that um every time I share the story, and when I get off now, I'm going to share with her that can I share your story of your mom? And she's always 100% says yes, and she tells me I never have to ask her permission. But I always like to be very respectful, just in case that conjures up something within her as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I always do that. I ask for permission to share, and that's when you're asking. When I just want to go to that too, when we are sharing our stories or our legends. The reason
Hmm.
why I didn't get to share that legend, because I'm not meant to share it with people. Um, we got to be very respectful, and the ancestors want us to be respectful as well.
Hmm.
And you know, and the difference between ghosts and all that. And I'm very happy that you did not share your granddaughter's complete story, because that's respectful to her.
Hmm.
My son has experiences as well. My son's a foreseer, so he foresees things. He has premonitions, and I just allow him to speak his truth. His big thing is stars before they die. And when he says to me, Tina, oh, who's this, Mom? I said, Tina Turner. He's like, and he's singing this song that he's never heard before. And he's like,
Hmm.
too bad we won't get to see her in concert. And then I'm like,
Hmm.
2 weeks later, she passes away.
Yeah.
First time that happened was with, that I remember it happened was with Betty White. And he told me she was not going to make it to her 100th birthday.
Hmm.
And he was like, it'll probably, be before Christmas. And like literally 2 weeks old. And he was, who she is. She's from the Golden Girls. And
Yeah.
he's never seen the show, right? Like,
Hmm.
and it happened. And just events and
Hmm.
stuff. So he's a foreseer, and just
Yes.
let them be. And he's 100,
Hmm.
probably he's been 100% correct. So
Oh
maybe there'll be
boy.
that one time when he's not, but that's
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
So yeah,
This
just be very respectful. And then when you're done, if you're around a campfire and you're telling all these stories and you're getting really scared, and that's an awesome place to be. But just before you go to bed, just say anything that's attached to us, throw something into the fire as like a rock, a twig, or anything, and just say, this the fire, just take this, take it with you. It stays here in
Yes.
this circle. And once
Hmm.
the fire goes out, it's gone.
Yes. And yeah, and don't take it to bed with you because you're not
Don't
gonna sleep. You won't
You're not
sleep.
going to sleep.
Yeah.
And just make sure before, if one person says it's time for bed, it means it's time for bed for everybody. Doesn't mean you
Yes.
stay up and start
That's right.
having more, because that is the hint from, one person scared. That's already developed into something.
Yes.
Um,
So while
yeah.
you're sleeping, all this
Hmm.
negative energy that they're accumulating again, that's
Mm,
gonna come for you because now you're vulnerable.
hmm.
So yeah,
So,
everybody, it's so when
right.
the bar closes.
So I think that when we should do this once a month, maybe. And
Hmm.
I ask people at home, or wherever you're watching it, if you want to share your stories with us. If you want to privately share them, well, 100%, it's your story. We'll be
Hmm.
respectful of your story. Um, we can share it with you. If you really want to come on this show and share your story, oh my God, I think I would have kittens. I'd be so excited.
I'd love to
That'd be
have a whole
so
bunch of
awesome.
people. I want to have a
Right?
whole bunch of
So
people come on and we'll have a campfire on Zoom.
I think that would
A Zoom
be
fire.
I think a Zoom fire would be really great, and we could just
Hmm.
have a time when we just tell our little
Yeah.
stories,
Yes.
and tell about, we don't have to know if they're true or false, because they're so private to
Hmm.
you. And yeah, so if anybody out there wants to share their story, we can share it for you, or we can share it, like, or you
Hmm.
can come on and share it, and anything. But we would like to do this frequently, maybe once every 6 weeks or something like
Hmm.
that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
one of the shows we'll have is a show about legends, because
Hmm.
they're ghost stories in their own way.
Yes.
An
Legend
old
has it.
wives' tale. Yeah,
Yeah.
like old wives' tales,
Yes.
and stuff like that, and stuff that you hear. So I think we'll do a show on that as well. And if you have any ideas, anything that you want to do, because I'm gonna be honest, I probably went through it. I was in a paranormal group
Hmm.
for 5 years, ran the group, and I had a skeptic in the group. It was lovely, like, but being a medium in that group and being a channeler and being all these things had different experiences for people, for me, from a different perspective.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I had to get out of it because of the negativity associated with that world. So,
Yeah.
and it's terrifying. Sometimes some things were
It's
terrifying.
yeah.
Telling you about
It.
being pulled off of a table, and right. And so, like,
Hmm.
but what I will say to people is, if you're going to tell stories, um, around to people in person or whatever, just be respectful, of, the story itself, respectful of your audience as well.
Hmm.
I once told a story, and I was like 14, and I was a bit of a rascal, and I told everybody a story, and there was blood, guts, and gore in the story. And the kids I was telling it to were
Mm.
8 and 10 years old.
Oh
Parents were
boy.
not
Yeah.
pleased with me.
Hmm.
So, and I had to apologize. But in my brain, I'm like, they literally, all of us, just watched a movie with blood, guts, and gore in it. So for me, I thought it was okay to do that, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so
Okay.
just know your audience. So, all right, well, time to
This
go.
has been fun. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I
Fun.
love it. I love it. Okay. We will I'm not sure what we're gonna do. What are we gonna do next week? We're gonna do some legends next
Hmm.
week. Let's do some legends
Maybe
next
we'll do
week.
some legends next week.
Yeah.
Actually, I
Okay.
want to talk about, see where the moons are, because it might not be a great time to do the legends,
Okay. Okay.
but yes or no, because I want to make sure that the
Okay.
astrologically everything is
Yes.
lined up good enough
Yes.
for that.
So to be
And
determined.
yeah, but if
Okay.
not, if we don't do legends, which we probably will, The other
And
thing
you
we
know
can
what?
do is things that people
Before
say.
before we go, I want to thank all those new subscribers that just piled on. I
Yay!
posted this in one of my groups, and I'm telling you, people came on board. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on, and
you.
thank you. And
Mhm.
if you could keep sharing, boy, I tell you, that would be absolutely amazing.
Oh,
So thank
thank
you
you
for
so
all,
much.
everybody. We went from 8 to 30 in less than a week. Actually,
That
3 days.
I have
3 days.
no,
So
I
that's
don't know
amazing.
if anybody has any idea how honored I am. I'm a very humble person. I curse and swear a lot.
Hmm.
But I'm not like a lot of people that you see on TV. Um, I'm very real. And when I
Hmm.
say like if you've had a reading by me, if I don't get the spirit, I'm going to tell you I don't get the
Yeah.
spirit.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm the first one to go, is this a fear cage, or is this you sitting in your own fear? Is this a snap
Hmm.
crackle pop branch, or is it actually something?
Yes.
Right?
So when you
So
say you're grateful, you are absolutely grateful. And as
100%.
am
Like
I.
I'm
So
50,
so
yeah,
thank
I'm
you.
51 years old and I've been doing this all my life, and I don't I'm relatively low key. So yeah, that's it. I'm really
Yes.
grateful. Thank you so much.
Okay. And
I
we will
appreciate
see
that. So
everybody. We'll see you all next week. Okay.
see you
Bye
next week.
now.
Bye.